TUC issues 24-hour ultimatum to MODEC to reinstate dismissed workers. And Chinese shares was the best option for Parliament, Deputy Trade Minister justifies. And on the international front, Boko Haram crisis, Nigeria free. We're told also over the U.S. arms refusal has been an issue running in the country. We bring you all these and more in the next 60 minutes. Good evening to you. Welcome to the news here on First TV, on your digital television. And it's live from our studios here in Accra. We're also live as well on Business Television Africa this evening. And also, you can join us as we go on with your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions. My name is Alfred Okanse. Welcome to Prime News Live here on First Digital Television. To our first story this evening, where GN Bank has secured a $9 million equity investment from the Soros Economic Development Fund to expand banking services in rural Ghana and reach 1 million customers in that reach. SDF's investment supports Ghana's mission to encourage a savings culture and also provide a safe first-class banking services to every Ghanaian through the creation of the largest network of banking locations in the country.
A 2011 study by the consultative group to assess the poor estimates that 66% of Ghanaians' adult population is unbanked, with only 5.1 bank branches per 100,000 adults. Since 1998, SDF has been making program-related investments to reach unbanked and underbanked populations across the globe, said Neil De Laurentiis, SDF's financial inclusive sector head. GN Bank recently obtained a universal banking license from the Bank of Ghana. The investment requires approval by the Bank of Ghana. GN Bank Ghana was formerly known as First National Bank. The Soros Economic Development Fund is a private foundation that is part of the Open Society Foundations, a network of charitable foundations created by investor and philanthropist George Soros. It promotes economic opportunities and access to products and services to undeserved populations in developing countries and communities. It invests in sustainable businesses or initiatives that strive to alleviate poverty by creating jobs and revitalizing deteriorating communities. Established in 1997, SDF has over $200 million in investment capital and employs 15 people in New York, Freetown, and Johannesburg. GN Bank is a Ghanaian customer-centric retail bank with the mission of becoming the People's Bank. We are building an unprecedented nationwide network of full-service branches and mobile banking units to provide excellent customer service to all Ghanaians, traders, market women, workers, farmers, and businesses from micro to large-scale operations. The bank pays special attention to the everyday and bank Ghanaian, giving these customers a safe, convenient way to save well. Company is the second bank in Ghana to successfully transform from a saving and loan to a universal banking institution with the ability to offer the full range of banking products. At GN Bank, we use operational discipline and technology to give our customers money where and when they need fast.
Okay, so this is some good news, especially to the unbanked in Ghana, and with a target of enrolling in lots of people who are indeed within that informal sector. And that is the focus, and obviously some breakthrough there for lots of people out there who are looking for some financing to expand their businesses. As we go on in the bulletin, we're going to be joined on the telephone by the Chief Executive Officer of GN Bank, Mr. Patrick Anamo, to give us some detail on this particular new development, this good news for the development of the bank and what it means to customers, prospective customers out there. But let's go straight into the Legislative House, where most members of Parliament have said they are scared their lives are in danger following the recent killing of the municipal chief executive of Nkwanta South, who was shot dead about some 2 weeks ago. Now, the MPs have therefore re-echoed the need for government to provide adequate security for members of parliament and also district chief executives, not only in parliament, but in their homes and when in their constituencies.
The provision of security for members of parliament has for some years now been on the drawing board, as government is yet to consider an earlier proposal from members of parliament to officially provide bodyguards for MPs. The proposal from the MPs to be given adequate security was necessitated by some attacks on members of parliament by armed robbers, including the former chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Honorable Kandapa, and recently the MP for Nkwanta South, Honorable Ganshong Bediame. Though these cases were brought before Parliament, with members stressing the need for government to consider their security as an issue of grave concern, government is yet to come out with its position on the matter. The MPs are, however, making a case out of the recent killing of the Nkwanta South MCE, arguing that, as public figures, their lives are equally at risk if they are not well protected. So viewers, we have been talking to members of parliament about the recent incident that happened in Nkwanta South that has to do with the gunning down of the DCE. And members of parliament have been sharing their views on the need to be provided with security, and then how they feel about this sad incident.
It becomes so visible too, that is another threat. So even today, we had a discussion and there was this advice that even MPs who have their stickers on their vehicle must remove them, because it's an easy way to identify who is a member of parliament or not. You know, in Ghana, when anybody thinks that their life has been unfair to him, the first person he vests his anger on is the politician. And when you talk of politician in Ghana, the MPs come first. That is the notion of the public, that the MPs are the real politicians. In other words, I would say that it's necessary that we get the security, both at home, at work, and even as we drive.
Are at risk, particularly roads leading to our houses must be taken care of, so that you are not compelled to drive so slowly. That will enable people to target you. Some of us MPs not living in the plush areas, but I live at New Bawe. 400 yards to my house, I have to go at a pace of about 3 kilometers per hour.
Security, as they say, is needed by everybody, but sometimes, for the lack of it, we sometimes take a lot of things for granted, just for the lack of security. I know it will be difficult to say we're going to provide security for everybody, and so probably government or the lawmakers overlooked the situation and think that it is not necessary that we have security for every public officer. But what has happened now is an indication that there's a need for every public servant to have a security. That is, if only government can provide. I can remember when I was a DCE, we agitated and then asked that there was a need for every DCE to be given a security personnel.
So let's just a bit further with issues of security, where residents living along the Walker-Bush Highway say not enough was done in terms of review, leading to, in some cases, misplaced footbridges on the 14.1 kilometer 3-lane dual carriageway. Now, the road has 6 footbridges, 13 bus stations, and also 23 minor junctions, adding that government promised to construct an overpass which will help pedestrians easily access the road from either side, but that is yet to come to fruition. Now, Vegetable News assessed the impact of the engineering defects on pedestrians who use that road.
Since the construction of the motorway, which is popularly known as the N1 highway in 2012, there has been a series of pedestrian deaths recorded on the highway. According to records gathered, there have been 200 pedestrian accidents with 71 pedestrian deaths recorded. due to the increasing rate of unwarranted pedestrian carnage recorded on the 14-kilometer highway from Malam to Tetokwashi. Member of Parliament for Okankwe Central, Patrick Buama, vehemently took the matter up to the floor of Parliament January this year, but still no response. Speaking to the Roads and Highways Minister, Honorable Alhaji Inusuf Hussaini, in an exclusive interview, he explained that the N1 highway engineering defects will be solved when the needed funds are secured.
Stopped. Yeah, these are an overpass is not a speed reducing mechanism. It's just to ensure safety of other road users, so that you remove the potential conflict between road users, pedestrians, and vehicles. So that's what an overpass does. It's just a mechanism that reduces and removes to the barest minimum the potential conflict that can arise from the competitive use of the road by pedestrians and vehicles.
He further stated that the construction of footbridge is still in the books of the ministry, and he will make sure that all is done by the end of 2015.
They can also be mutually exclusive. You can only do traffic lights to regulate the movement of vehicles. Traffic lights work like the law. I mean, if you want to know how the failure of law will manifest itself, get to a traffic light intersection which is off, and there's no regulatory mechanism to determine who moves. You have confusion and chaos. Traffic light is intended to reduce the chaos and indicate who has the right of way at any given time. That's just a traffic light. So it minimizes the confusion that are likely, or that is likely to result from vehicles competing amongst themselves for the use of the road. Okay? While you are minimizing the confusion, you are also providing a safe corridor for pedestrians who want to cross the road in the absence of an overpass. Now you remember when
some pedestrians who spoke to First TV News expressed concern over the difficulty and fear they encounter whenever they were compelled to cross over to either sides of the road.
Say that, they asked the contractor some time ago, and he said that the reason why they took the traffic light to the other side was because the pedestrians around, they might be selling, or those doing business around might be selling on the overpass. That's why they took it to those areas. And so because people have been being knocked down by accidents and things are happening to them, that's why they decided to bring the traffic light so that they can easily.
So you have been crossing for Burma, but not a just speed about for the power now. A business power. Okay, the traffic light in my DNA, Okashida Hanimbo. Never more than because accident nearby here. Don't you go on wobbling, I'm a speeding back. Or when you can get flashing about one done washing. I
don't think it's the best solution. Overhead bridge would be better. If they can do something small like the Kaneshi overhead bridge, it will be perfect. But with that one, we will still run across the road anyway. There will be light off. People will run. So I think this is not a solution.
I will help the pedestrians because look at how it is. There is no way out, no way. So
people are crossing the road and you see them knocking down by cars here in the area. From here at the NY Highway, my name is Joshua Nana Opokwe.
So that is a situation on the N1 highway, a very, very serious situation there. And the residents are not happy. Now, per our records, about 6 people are knocked down on that stretch of road on a daily basis. That's on the average. And the Motor Traffic and Transport Department is also been doing some reviews on that particular stretch of road. We're going to be staying on focus on that and definitely bring you up to speed whatever developments will be on this particular issue. But let's get into issues of corruption tonight, where the happenings in Ghana have heightened concerns over the lack of political will to fight corruption. Now, some respected opinions on the African continent have consistently called for a more committed political will and leadership to fight this canker. In no certain terms, Professor PLO Lumumba, and 2012 presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, have been unequivocal on the need to fight corruption with all the needed commitment it deserves.
It's been common since independence. Since 2006, Ghana's score and ranking on the Transparency International Corruption Perceptions Index has been nothing to write home about. However, there is evidence in Ghana that government-related corruption is on the rise. Governments gone by and present have made verbal commitments to fight corruption, but much leaves to be seen of the action and extensive commitment to implement laws to the latter, irrespective of who is caught in the web, be it a government official or not. Corruption has robbed the African continent of its needed development and left us where we are now. This is Professor PLO Lumumba speaking about corruption at the 3rd Anti-Corruption Convention on 2nd of December 2013 in Uganda.
Today, many young Africans are running away. Not so long ago, about 4 weeks to be exact, 300 young Africans drowned in the Mediterranean Sea in Lampedusa because they were running away from Africa. Not so long ago, about 3 weeks to be exact, another group of young Africans drowned next to the island of Malta because they were running away from Africa. When you look at Africa today, whether you are looking at Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, or indeed any country in Africa.
During the run-up to the 2012 general elections, presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, made a stern, clear and unambiguous commitment to fight corruption if voted into power. He is quoted as saying, "To have peace, unity, prosperity and stability, you need the truth. The truth is that there is a rot in our system, our politics, our businesses, and our society generally. The rot I am talking about is corruption. We can become the flood that washes away that rot, that corruption from our society. I ask you to support me and the Progressive People's Party in this crusade." This is what he said during the commitment speech on the fight against corruption ahead of the 2012 general elections on August 18, 2012.
We need to shine a bright light on corruption in our society and deal with it truthfully, openly, so that we can have the kind of inclusiveness in our society that we need. So I am offering to work with many people, and I hope you will join us so that we can become the flood that washes away that rot, that corruption from our society. It is when we do that that we will be able to honor the promise embedded in our Constitution, extended by the PPP, for free, compulsory, continuous education from kindergarten through to the end of senior high school. It is by dealing with corruption that we will be able to deal effectively with preventable diseases such as malaria, cholera, guinea worm, and so on and so forth. Indeed, it is by having effective governance, incorruptible leadership, by washing away the rot of corruption.
As the saying goes, great minds think alike, and the resounding commitment to the fight against corruption as demonstrated by these two great Africans, and the questions being asked are still begging for answers.
And so, very resounding, comments there, and the exhibition of the commitment to fight corruption, which is eating up the gains of the African continent over the period. Lots of people will be sharing their thoughts on this particular very serious issue as we go on, hopefully. But the Ghana Medical Association has expressed its displeasure about the manner the government had handled the Tier 2 pensions of its members. Now, the association said some of its members who were covered by the Pensions Act 2008 will be retiring in January next year, but they did not have any idea where to process and claim their Tier 2 pension benefits or how much had accrued to them. Now, it said it intended to pursue this agenda and ensure that all affected members had conditions of service before June 30 next year.
The GMA expressed its displeasure in a communique issued at the end of the 56th Annual General Conference under the theme 10 Years of Postgraduate Medical Education in Ghana Achievements, Challenges and the Way Forward. Dr. Kwabena Opoku-Edusei, the president of the GMA, and Dr. Frank Sribo, the General Secretary, signed the communique, which was read by Dr. Edusei at a press conference at Takoradi. The association said it had numerous meetings with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority (NPRA), Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, the Ministry of Finance and the Presidency, but the meetings yielded no meaningful results. The communique said propaganda, half-truths and, at times, outright lies and name-calling will never win the way. It will retard the progress of the nation. It said the association would take the Tier 2 pension saga to its logical conclusion despite the machination by government, and it would support every decision that will be taken at the forum of Public Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. The association drew the attention of the government to the fact that members of the association working with the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service were working without conditions of service. The association said if by that date condition of service had not been negotiated and signed, the affected doctors will consider themselves unemployed.
Now let's start with the issues of labor, where the Trade Union Congress (TUC) has directed management of oil company MODEC to reinstate workers it's dismissed within 24 hours or prepare to face possible strike by workers in the oil and gas industry.
Last night, MODEC dismissed 27 workers who participated in a sit-down strike on the offshore vessel FPSO Kwame Nkrumah last month. The workers were demanding better conditions of service in the face of huge pay disparity between them and expatriate workers offering the same services. An agreement was reached and the workers resumed work, only to be served with letters of dismissal weeks later. But earlier today, all Ghanaian MODEC workers abandoned work in solidarity with their dismissed colleagues. The General Transport, Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union of TUC say it's preparing to escalate the current labor unrest in the oil and gas front if the 27 workers are not reinstated. As at Tuesday afternoon, a meeting was underway in Accra on the matter. Deputy General Secretary of the Union, Francis Salah, told First Digital News MODEC has disrespected the Memorandum of Understanding it signed with the workers on 30th October 2014. He was baffled by the dismissal, explaining that the affected workers only protested peacefully against the current condition.
So that's what's happening on the labor front, and the TUC obviously making its point very, very clear on this particular matter. But the chief driver at the secondary trust station in the Western region, Kwame Eben, has expressed disappointment in the Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly and government for its failure to renovate the lorry station. According to him, despite the huge amount of money collected from them as tax each year, the station is frequently hit by floods and the congestion which affects the businesses. He said this in an exclusive interview with our Western Regional correspondent, Samuel Ahinsa.
Most commercial hubs and centers in the country have over the years been left to rot due to negligence on the part of authorities responsible for their development. The Circle, Kaneshi Trotro Station, Nima Market, among others, have seen little or no refurbishment over a long period of time. A trip to the Sekondi Trotro station revealed that the station, which serves Sekondi, a major part of the Twin City, has also not seen any development over the years, despite constant assurances by the Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly officials. Speaking in an exclusive interview with First TV's Western Regional Correspondent Simona Hinsa, the chief driver of the station, Kwame Aban, said over 300 vehicles operate in the station, with each paying taxes annually and daily tolls. He said despite the perennial floods that hit the area, government has not blinked an eye to the situation.
Tax apart from that, the little part ticket. Nyoma driver for another yituyama money the idea or super papa. Let's say income tax by 20 Ghana. Quarterly, 3 months, by the growth of the year, the year 80 Ghana. Because 12 months and 80 Ghana each year, the tax about 300. So we now what's the station the year 2 Yampaha. Let's be at least there. Quarter 20 Ghana, and a year say 80 Ghana, or yeah, old currency 800 Calibia Scotian by the close of the year. Never let's say you get a car about 300. No, they are way papa. That's all over there. You get them like support to another station or city in the Duma. Never feed the auto Seneca. In Boko, you know, going to your best there. What do you want? One for me by again, not a pack and for me, not a pack and for it.
Meanwhile, Kwame Aban cautioned drivers to take heed to road signs and avoid speeding on the roads. He asked drivers to avoid recklessness in order to prevent road accidents during this period, since over the years, accidents begin escalating.
Baby cry and the NCF for Sierra Cobia, young woman in the day. You be the Yanambra or another year time, no, but they are bunny about to come now. Drive on the way, Yaman, Yan Tam never pentam or Daquisheva. No one can one potential. I'm the one who meet Nara, Madame by Elkan. It was Yang Nara, or Manmunia Yara. Tiamon never be a pepe, then so to take of the accident and little picture.
So that's a very, very deplorable state in which the Sekondi Trotro station or the lorry station finds itself, and to the extent that they've been paying tolls every day to the Sekondi Takoradi Municipal Assembly, that's where their concern is. And we're keeping an eye on this particular story and get the authorities to answer to some of these questions on the minds of these people. But let's just find out our pension tips for tonight.
In our new series on pension tips, we take you through pension mistakes to avoid. The first one is not having a pension at all. Not having a pension is not only unwise but dangerous. Pensions offer security for workers when they retire or when they are incapacitated. It is therefore imperative for workers to join a social security scheme and make the necessary contributions to secure their future. The two biggest factors that determine how much your pension will be at retirement are the amount you put in and the length of time you invest it for. The sooner you start saving into a pension, the better, even if you are saving a small amount.
Pension Tips is brought to you by PenTrust. Call them for all your Tier 2 and 3 pension plans on 0302 901 500 or 0501 291 030. PenTrust, discipline.
So watching the news here on Fast TV. Well, on BTA, and we're live from our studios here in Accra. We will be back shortly after this quick break. Don't go away.
Lift off, taking my coat off. Show on my tattoos, I'm such a show off.
Yeah, it's your boy Westwood Hudson, the gang legends live forever.
I got the whole city, they about to go out.
Where's all my favorite followers?
I love Tim Westwood TV. Tim Westwood. Tim Westwood.
Tim Westwood, Ricky Rose.
We're gonna go on a nice friendly vacation picnic. Come to find out we're breaking the law with Tim Westwood.
Up in GH, courtesy of Spider League Entertainment. Tim Westwood TV, only on SET. Crazy.
Hello, my name is Annie Efwa Ampofo, host of the First Show on First TV on a platform, First Digital. The First Show displays to you a lot of issues on your table. Talk about education, social matters, security, politics, and of course, entertainment.
Obviously, government people think some animal somewhere. Government is you and I, it's our money. If you want me to debate him on good economic governance, invite me.
We've done things the same way for many years and we are not getting any different results. You have to balance it. You have to find a way and you have to find champions there.
The fact that a journalist may not be professional at what he or she does not give anybody the right to assault a journalist in the line of duty.
You can't say someone should dress the way you like. If the fabric is very busy, the style should be as simple as possible.
We rise above the noise every Monday to Friday and join me from 6:45 to 9 a.m. as I serve you with breakfast. The First Show, issues worth your time.
For buying someone a phone, does God find reasons of giving you a
Mercy love me.
Unnecessary party, following women, buying irrelevant stuff.
The secrets, if I should call it, I wonder if they are secrets. I don't think they are secrets.
I didn't have a list of things I wanted from a guy, but then it was just the connection. We just clicked.
that you want in a man, in your California love. California digger.
For me, I first look at physical appearance.
You know, it embraces and entails an entire person.
One man out there who is protecting all of us. We seem to forget. We don't read our Bibles.
Young Adults, showing this and every Saturday at 5 p.m. and repeated on Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Idris Sajjad Topo. Pre-revolutionary stage. People can rebel before a revolution should happen.
So as long as Muslims come out and they mount the rostrum or the pulpit and preach peace, we should exemplify peace.
I mean, we could see this, example, what the Prophet himself does. When it comes to the last 10 days, he enters into seclusion.
So the price of Laylatul Qadr is, as Allah mentioned, khayrun min alfi shahr.
Watch me this and every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. as I bring to you your favorite and most educative religious talk show, Islamic Insight, on Faith TV. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
All right, welcome back to the news here on Fast TV, also live as well on Business Television Africa, BTA. Now, let's go for a critical lens segment tonight. Our critical lens segment tonight. We're zooming into Legislative House of Parliament, where a planned media briefing by the Parliamentary Service Board to clarify some matters arising from the reconfiguration of the Parliament chamber was eventually called off. Now, explaining why the press conference had to be postponed after journalists had been seated for over an hour, a member of the board, Mr. Ebenezer Jethro, said efforts to get some key members of the board to be present to answer some critical questions failed by the cancellation of that media briefing.
Since Parliament resumed, leadership of the House has been under intense public criticism for buying Chinese chairs and other imported materials for the refurbishment of the chamber. Other matters arising include demands from the public and members of the opposition wanting to know the total amount spent on the project, the level of transparency in the award of some subcontracts and procurement of items for the project. The main issue of contention has been why Parliament should bypass the many woodworking industries in Ghana to buy swivel chairs and tables from China, whilst the ruling government is championing a campaign for the patronage of made-in-Ghana goods to sustain the nation's economic growth. Mr. Ebenezer Jethro, a member of the Parliamentary Service Board, gave reasons why the media briefing had to be called off, giving explanations that attempts to get the in-house consultant and the main contractor to clarify some issues failed.
This particular forum was sanctioned by the leadership of the House this morning, and as you may be aware, regarding the reconfiguration project, we, the technical team, working under the instructions of the board, worked alongside the consultant. Now, when the decision was firmed up this, I think about an hour or two ago, we quickly had to reach out to members of the consult. We had to reach out to the consulting team, and there were a whole lot of challenges because they have also arranged other meetings. I asked, if you may recall, that I even came in here earlier and withdrew, trying to reach the consultant. I called, and the lead consultant was somewhere far away, I think along, heading towards Eastern region. He asked me to call his colleague, Nicole Annan. I called him. He was also at Smith, holding a meeting there right now. He also came here earlier because he wasn't sure about when exactly the briefing session would be held. But when he came and things were not firmed up, he had to rush for a meeting at Smith, pension house. I tried reaching him. He said, well, if he'll be able to make it, at least it'll take him about an hour and a half to be able to get here. I understand him because the decision to hold this briefing session was just firmed up about an hour and a half ago. And so, naturally, it made it difficult to assemble all the people who matter for us to be able to have a very fruitful and intelligible discourse. Under the circumstances, the only thing we can do is to reschedule this meeting so that we'll be able to get the other colleagues who also matter on board. Because definitely you may ask.
Well, so that is what happened in Parliament earlier today. They failed to address the press because the critical questions on the minds of journalists who are obviously going to carry the concerns of the ordinary Ghanaian to them to answer the questions. And some people need of the opinion that they had to actually dodge journalists in Parliament today because they couldn't have all the answers to the questions on this particular issue. But the influx of imported goods has today contributed to the economic crisis and depreciation of the city in Ghana. From woodworks to sanitary parts, almost every consumable product is imported into the country. Now, this has led to low production of consumables in Ghana. Ghana today cannot boast of manufacturing companies due to lack of sustenance by governments gone by and present. Now, a visit to the workshop of Akan Furniture revealed same. Now, we go back into time to chronicle what the president said during the State of the Nation's address in making that pledge to promote making Ghana goods and what the situation is now. Go for it.
The importation of furniture to refurbish Parliament has left many wondering the priorities of government, especially when there has been a verbal commitment by the President. In February this year, during the presentation of the State of the Nation's address in Parliament, President John Dramani Mahama echoed that Ghanaians should patronize locally manufactured goods.
Imagine all that we could have achieved if in 1 year we could spend as much in cedis on locally produced rice, sugar, wheat, tomato products, frozen fish, poultry, vegetable and cooking oils as we spent in dollars on those very same imported items that we have a comparative advantage to produce.
Today, it is quite unfortunate that leaders of this country do not practice what they preach. Many woodwork companies have died out due to lack of empowerment and capacity building from government. From PWD, Modern Furniture, Ashanti Furniture, among others, have faded due to this factor. A visit to one of the oldest furniture production companies in Ghana, Akan Furniture, reveals that low patronage and high cost of production has negatively impacted on the company. Employees of over 120 have been downsized to 18. Now, there has been lots of brouhaha currently ongoing with the refurbishments in Parliament. Many woodworkers have complained bitterly about the fact that if the industry, the woodwork industry, is revamped, they can produce the best of furniture for this country. The question now is, has Ghana been able to implement, or will Ghana be able to implement Dramani Mahama's declaration or statement with regards to patronizing made in Ghana products? Let's find out from some woodworkers who have over the years been in this system.
We have manufacturing local product all this while. We are having problem of making market trade. And so if they've gone to China, it's also complement what I said, because they'll make a decision to implement it to help the local manufacturers. It's a problem. So, me, I'm not surprised.
Well, so with the high cost of production, you can see that this place is currently empty because workers have been downsized. This place used to be a very brisk company producing locally manufactured furniture. But you can see behind me that the desks are empty because workers have been downsized.
For all the woodworks, the industry is collapsing. And it's going to have effect on us.
From Mataiko, Marita Mamio for reporting for First Digital Television.
Okay, so that is what's happening at the workshops there. But let's go for some business news. Prices of petroleum products will not be reduced in the next price review by the National Petroleum Authority. According to the NPA, which undertakes the price review every 2 weeks, it will not review downwards the prices despite a drop in the price of crude oil on the world market.
crude oil prices hit a 4-year low after Saudi Arabia unexpectedly cut the price of oil sold to the U.S. last week. Brent crude fell to near $82 per barrel as worries about global growth also spooked investors. But speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of the NPA, Moses Asaga, he said the NPA will take advantage of the price drop to save some cash to defray the debt owed bulk oil distribution companies, BDCs. The NPA is expected to announce new prices of petroleum products after a review on the 16th of this month.
So let's go on to the exchange market and find out how the cedi is faring against some major currencies around the world.
Market and Forex News is brought to you by Gold Coast Fund Management. Call them for free investment advice and get more details on their products on 0302 11411 or 0277 56877.
Yeah, so let's cross over to the studios of Sports 24, and Kennedy Asari Sechi is standing by with all the news in the world of sports. Thank you very much, Alfred. A very good evening and welcome to the world of sports. My name is Kennedy Asari Sechi. Let's take our first story locally. Fans of Accra Hearts of Oak, they say, are pleased to be part of history as the club celebrates its 103 years of existence. Now, the fans who had come to the National Secretariat earlier on this morning said they will work with management for the success of the club.
Move like a next year, I mean, pass goal in one loss for you was like a move for the last hour. What is the pass goal is an off there. No, no, I can make money 2002, 2000. I'm going to feel maybe within the house of work. Was someone working? I can be on up about to be calling the way when you have no house of work. I get a bomb.
The feeling you a feel mora yo jogba because mokola yo ni shimimba fans ko na ami de show mo make ka mo wa fo cake ko jogba arroz be quiet and don't be silly, we are the famous Asofos, we never say that.
59 years old. So if I'm 59 years, and if you subtract that 59 from 103, the years remaining can tell you I know something about the phobians.
Can you help us sing the song of Asofo? House 11.
It's a marching day. House 11 is a marching day. Arrows, arrows, arrows. Be quiet and don't be silly. We are the famous Asofo. We never say die.
Right, so we congratulate Accra Hearts of Oak, the great club. Obviously, I'm sure it's debatable. So we'll just leave it there, and we congratulate them once again for their 103 years of existence. Now, let's move on to some other stories. Still staying with the Black Stars, Europe-based Ghana players
headlined by Marcel star Andre Dede Morgan Ayew, arrived in the country last night, making it 20 players for the next week's AFCON qualifiers. Now, you're told that 3 players are expected to join the camp by tonight, and for coach Maxwell Kunedu to have a full complement of his squad for qualifiers against Uganda and Togo. Now, Andre Dede Ayew, who plays for French giants Olympique Marseille, arrived together with his brother Jordan Ayew on the KLM flight last Monday night, along with a powerful defender Jonathan Mensah. Also on the same flight, Emmanuel Adjumaibedu, Mubarak Wakaso, Efriye Aka, and David Akam. Now, we are told that Turkey-based Abdul Majid Waris and John Boy were also on the Turkish Airlines flight from Istanbul that arrived Monday, while several others arrived from South Africa. Now, a total of 20 players are in camp, and they will start their first training section tomorrow at the Accra Sports Stadium, and thereafter they will plane to Kampala, where the game is scheduled to be played. Now, Maxwell Kunedu, who is taking charge of the 2 games, will hand over immediately after the 2 games, that's between Uganda and Togo, and hand over to former Chelsea boss Avram Grant, after he agrees the financial terms with the Ghana Football Association. Away from the international front, let's focus on some news trickling in, obviously, from the international world. Former Manchester United boss David Moyes has been named as the new manager of Spanish club Real Sociedad. Now, it is the 51-year-old's first job since he was sacked as Manchester United coach in April after a 10-month spell in charge. Moyes replaced Jogoba Araset, who was dismissed by Sociedad after a poor run form, which currently seems them lie 15th in the La Liga. Now, the squad has signed a contract to June 2016 and will take charge for the first time at the Deportivo on the 22nd of November. Real Sociedad announced the appointment late last night in a statement on their website. Real Sociedad have reached an agreement with David Moyes. Well, so that's it for sports this afternoon with me, Kennedy Asari Sechi. We are crossing over to First TV, where Alfredo Kanse is standing by for the rest of the news. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to the entertainment segment of the news. My name is Grace Hamwa Asari. Now, starting off on a peaceful note, it was all joy and merrymaking last Sunday at the Capital View Hotel in Koforidua when Brahima Kamoko, aka Bukom Banku, rendered an unqualified apology to the dancehall king Shatawale in the presence of some other artists and guests who had come to the hotel to use the pool.
According to Bukom Banku, prior to the May 15th bout between Michael Ayite Okine, aka Ayite Powers, he used certain disparaging words against the controversial musician and self-acclaimed dancehall king Charles Nee Amamensa Jr.
Now, moving on to other stories. When Oshiame Kwame developed the idea to stage this year's versatile show, Little did we know that the 8th of November 2014 was going to live up to the billing and hype, but deliver it did. For the night shall be remembered for the sheer display of brilliance, talent, and artistic creations.
For those who didn't have the opportunity to attend either of the shows, they are the poorer because of the fees they missed, although the attendance for the first and second shows could have been improved. Given the capacity of the National Theatre, performers and guests in attendance made nonsense of the few empty seats as they relished in each other's company. The run-up to the shows saw teamwork and immense energy on display as the various artists rehearsed for the big show. In the end, patrons had something to hold on to rap Dr. Shami Kwame and his cabal choose to unleash their creative venom once more in dishing out well-choreographed dance, poetry and comedic performances next year. The show had a beautiful storyline with scenes running through the crowd's admirable beggars to the politicians who arguably had answers to every question, to the police who was unfairly judged, to the pastor who had by chance turned himself from the supposed man of God that he should be to the God of men that we saw in the drama, to the pimp who would not back down seeing his dream of becoming the man he wished for, to the prostitute who rigmarole her way through from start to finish. In one piece, the show gave patrons value for their money and a time well spent.
And that's it for entertainment with me, Grace Hamwa Asari. Our weather report is up.
Now, on the international front, Nigeria's ambassador to the U.S. has criticized Washington for refusing to sell his government lethal weapons to fight militant Islamists. Nigeria needed support to deliver the killer punch, not light jabs, against the Boko Haram group at Adebowale Idipao Adefuye. That's said. And that's it for the news this evening. It came to you live from our studios here at number 13 Trotro Crescent in Abilingpe here in Accra. We're also live on Business Television Africa. But coming up is the business news also, or the business stories on Business Television Africa at exactly 7 p.m. Don't go away. My name is Alfred Okanse. On behalf of the rest of the team, thank you for watching and have a good evening.